Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. We have a really great webinar for you today, but before I hand it on over, I just want to go over a few things. First, we've got that chat box, great place to say hello and network, so feel free to drop your LinkedIn or let us know where you're tuning in from. And then we have that questions box. If you have any questions, you can pop them there and we'll get to them at the end. But now I will hand it on over to our speakers.
Thank you, Bridget. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar. So today we're going to show you something different, not just theory, very concrete, real transformation example coming from Versuni. So I'm Lamia from Wonderflow, and I'm joined by Ajay from Versuni. Together we'll share how a global consumer company brand turns feedback chaos into tangible product innovation and ROI. Ajay, if you want to add some words.
Thank you, Lamia, for having us here. So, hi, I'm Ajay. I work for Versuni, which is a home appliance company, and many consumers know us as Philips. Furthermore, today we will be discussing how at Versuni we use voice of consumer to inbuild in all our decision making to create the real business and consumer-centric impact. These are not hypothetical case studies. We will showcase some real wins we have and real learnings coming out of it.
Great. So here's our agenda, and we should stick within the 30 minutes. So what we will cover is how to cut through the AI hype and show you what smart data really means, how Versuni and Ajay will share the transformation journey with two product stories and show why listening to consumer matters. We'll give you the framework to measure and prove ROI. We'll finish with practical implementation, 4 steps that you could take back to your organization. And last but not least, question and answer. So feel free to write your question in the chat during the presentation. We'll answer them at the end. So let's start with a big picture. So the AI paradox we see everywhere, that companies are drowning in data, but starving for insight. Everyone is talking about Gen AI, and yes, it's powerful, but the reality is messier. Most organizations have feedback scattered across multiple channels, different format. The promise is AI will magically solve everything. The reality is different. So poor input equals poor output. And what we are also seeing is a major shift from the push to pull, meaning that we go from centralized team pushing insight across different departments to democratized access, where everyone in the organization, every user could access the insights and explore. And in this case, the data collection and data quality becomes even more critical because we no longer have a safeguard. So that's the starting statement, and maybe we'll have a quick introduction about who we are and what we do. Some of you might be familiar with Wonderflow and Versuni, some others not. So very quickly, let's talk about the Wonderflow vision. In this case, at the heart of what we do is a very simple but powerful idea. It's helping global consumer brands truly understand their consumers. And what Wonderflow does is take all that scattered feedback and turn it into something meaningful. Meaningful, what we call product intelligence. This means that it goes beyond general consumer sentiment. We're talking about actionable product level that can actually drive business growth. Now, you might ask me, or you might think, isn't this what CX or social listening tools already do? And that's a fair question. The difference is that those tools tend to stay at the surface. So they will tell you if customers are happy or not. But Wonderflow goes deeper. We translate that voice of consumer directly into insight that helps enterprise to build better products, innovate faster, and strengthen customer loyalty. And in this case, what sets us apart, it's the depth of our what we have built in our technology that we have developed and refined over years. We're focused on substance and reliability. So, enterprise scale data, high model accuracy, and strong governance that meets global compliance standards. This depth of data is what lets top brands act with confidence on the customer voice. And in this case, we have the chance and we are lucky to support most the some of the most and world's best consumer-centric brands, among which we have Versuni.
So moving on to Versuni journey now. So as we shared, we are house of brands. We have the major one is Philips, but with that we have many different global brands and also some regional brands like Volita in Brazil or Preet in India. But our aim remains the same. Versuni, the main aim of Versuni is to help people, our consumers, turn their houses into homes, starting with your morning coffee or cleaner and safer home for you. That's our agenda, and we take it very seriously. So, moving on, how we do it. First of all, it started with maybe a normal coffee machine back in 2021, or maybe inventing a new innovative product like air fryers, and many more coming, like latest one as our Baristina sleek coffee machine. It's all driven by consumer voices. We listen to our consumer, understand what they need, what will help them to turn their houses into home, and that's how we bring in innovation to each and every home.
Great. So now that you know a bit more about Wonderflow and Versuni, we take a step back and we go to the basics and to the foundation. So what's the difference between smart data and soft data? Actually, soft data is everywhere. It's sitting in your review platform, in your call center logs, in your survey tools, and someone's Excel file. It's everywhere in your company. The problem today isn't the lack of data. We are talking mostly about first party data because third party data might be more complicated to get and even more if it's competitive data. But the idea is today, most of the companies, they have enough data and plenty of data. The idea is that this data is scattered, siloed, and inaccessible. You have marketing teams that own reviews, customer service that have call center transcripts, product team that have survey results, but no one has the full picture. In this case, maybe Ajay, you want to elaborate on the case of Versuni.
Indeed, I would truly resonate with your comments right now. We sell over 100 retailers in more than 50 countries. We have scattered gold mine of data, consumer touchpoint data in form of rating and reviews, call-centric data, NPS surveys, and many more. So as this is not just scattered, many different teams are using this data in form of different tools, different languages, different structure, different processes. So to start with, the first step we took was to consolidate all this data, bring it together, connect the dots, and try to see how it makes sense.
Mm. And in this case, AI is very helpful. So AI actually brings a lot to VOC, not the hype, the reality. It's powerful. It speed up the analysis from weeks to minutes. And what is really critical is this only works if your data foundation is solid. So in this case, uh, we have a very much trust in AI, but not all AI is created equal, even though it has an incredible potential for speed and efficiency. For enterprise, dealing with millions of customer voices, you need more than quick answers. You need intelligence that is consistent, that is scalable, and that is fully traceable. So in this case, you need to make sure that every time you have the same input, it produces the same output over time. So you have trust in your trends and you could make decision with confidence. you need to be sure that it's not taken into account small unreliable samples, but it's taken into account the whole set while you are this company that have billions of data record. And finally, transparency, because you need to be able to trace back that result or that insight to the initial data. And even though sometimes even accurate insight can lose credibility if we are unable to trace back and to have a look at the underlying data. In this case, our recommendation would be not to ignore AI because AI is full of potential, but to work on the augmented intelligence combination between human and reliable AI working together. So what I call enterprise grade AI brings speed, scale, pattern recognition across massive data sets. Human bring context, judgment, creativity, understanding of business application. And the future isn't AI replacing people, it's AI augmenting human intelligence in this case.
Well said, Lamia. And just to add on that, I mean, generative AI is a big buzz right now. People are utilizing it, and it's really helping us to make faster decisions. But might be many people don't know that AI always work on sample of data. It takes big data and try to find the relevant data to help us spot the trends very easily. But can we rely on this sample of data when we have to make big decisions like which innovation to drive, where to invest, or what are the key quality decisions we have to make to take granular level information? There we need stronger deep dives, and where we cannot rely on samples. So, in need of that full picture, we need human validation, human expertise to take those. So, for us at Versuni, we try to take a balanced approach, like looking at each and every review using natural language processing, a form of AI, to tag our rating and reviews, see what are the biggest strengths for us, and also the weaknesses to decide on the actions.
Great. And I think in this case, Versuni illustrates this in action, and we would like to look, and I think our attendees would like to look more closely into the Versuni journey across their VOC program.
Excited to share that. So to start with, the VOC journey or voice of consumer journey here at Versuni started with the centralized approach, which is very common in industry. What How we progressed was the expert comes into the room, they try to understand what the data is talking about, set up the processes, and many more. It's the similarly it started with our global VOC team, where we couple of people sat together, started to create use cases, how we can use voice of consumer data, what all action we drive. It started with there, and we start sharing our reports with all organization, hoping that we are adding more consumer centricity in every decision we make here. But after some time, people got excited, they really saw the value in our work. But we hit a hard road here, because at the end the global VOC team was very limited. We re- uh, we we are open to help to everyone, but we were limited by our capacity and bandwidth. There we decided we need to change few steps to further propagate the true potential of voice of consumer. There we started working on democratizing our data sources. How we did that? We built analytical solutions, and Wonderflow really assisted us there. So not just in self solution, we created some business use cases, started connecting with different business experts all around, starting understanding how we can inbuild our voice of consumer in their decision making, onboarded them, made them our champions, our advocate to further propagate the value of voice of consumer.
Great. Thank you, Ajay. And this is clearly the type of the transformation Wonderflow specialized in, moving from centralized insight as a service to democratized inside as an infrastructure, and clearly requires a platform, the right governance, the right training, and among which the right people. So I leave it to you, Ajay, to explain a bit more about the people involved in the Versuni VOC program.
Of course, to shed light on that. So the best part of voice of consumer and specifically rating and reviews is this is unsolicited feedback. Here, consumer can talk about numerous factors what they feel like where we are adding value in their life, and not just for us, for competition as well. It all starts with the main proposition we have, the product team who develops new innovation for us, try to understand what people like, what people are not liking in our product, comparing it to the competition so that we can have robust solutions. Furthermore, we also try to map what kind of consumers are using our product, personas, and many more to create new business categories. Further building upon it, the another use case is many a times brand think that we are propagating some value to the consumer, but it's very much important for us to keep a check. Are consumers perceiving those communication, our marketing branding campaigns as the way we are trying to explain them? Furthermore, not limited there, caring for our consumers, and at the end, real business impact, the e-commerce use case. So
Mhm.
to show you some tangible examples, what I mean here is the first one is where when good intention, a company can do some good intention, but consumer can perceive it other way around. For example, recently we launched one of our air fryers, a very new series. We wanted to run a sustainability campaign around it. We wanted to play a part to be more conscious about our environment. And as a decision, what we did was we cut down physical user manuals and digitized it in form of QR code and many more. So the consumer with our product, we can share that with our consumer. They can go online and check all the features available on a new air fryer. We thought we are doing our bit for the environment, but unfortunately, we learned that our NPS was going down. Our rating and reviews were showing 1 or 2 star reviews. When we deep dived into the sentiment analysis to find why behind it, we learned that our sustainability campaign, which we felt would be adding value for the environment, was not as perceived by the consumer as we thought. They were frustrated. They were not able to use our air fryer, especially for the first time setup. So to find a balance there, we printed out leaflets with our first time use and further educating them how to easily get the user manual online to maintain the balance between the sustainability and ease of use of our consumer. This example portrays brands need to keep an open ear to the voice of consumer to make sure the message is going across correctly. The another example, a small nugget I would like to share today is where sometime our new innovations can go unrecognized by our consumers. For example, I come from India and I know India is big on masala, spices. We love spicy food. And with that, we want to make sure our consumer have liberty to have good quality, maintaining good quality of masalas, homemade masalas for them. So for that, our innovation team developed a special kind of jar which made sure when they do dry grinding, the masalas, the aroma is captured, it doesn't fly away, and it was a bit different than the normal blenders which have a rubber seal. So it was an innovation. Our teams were excited, they were looking forward to add value to our consumers life by giving them authentic homemade masala making feeling so that they can have healthy food. But when we started selling those products and our consumers got started using them, they started complaining as these jars were a bit different. It didn't have the normal rubber jar. They thought the product is defective. It's something different. And they started complaining about calling our call centers and also putting bad rating, misinterpreting that this is a bad product for them. But our marketing team came into the action in hypercare. They actively communicated, improved content on our pages to propagate this value, help consumer understand this feeling. Again, portraying that consumer sometimes cannot get our message correct. So it's a duty for us as a brand to keep an open eye, hear to them, make them feel heard, and address their problems. So these are very small examples, and that's not it. Like for us, it's a long time journey. We always try to keep an open ear, and which is portrayed in our next slide. If we try to quantify where it has taken us.
Mm-mm. Just one comment before we move to the nice ROI slide, Ajay, just to say that both these examples show the same principle. Fast feedback loops are critical. If Versuni waited for quarterly reports, for market research report, this issue would have snowballed. So the idea is that active monitoring plus rapid action problem contain that would translate in these nice results.
Indeed, thank you so much for it. So this is not a like ad hoc kind of a thing. We have to be consumer obsessed. We always have to hear to them to understand what they're looking for. And for us as Verzuni, if we look back like in last 1 decade, it has been a long journey. We started from overall 4.4 average rating for our product, over 100 touch points for more than 5,000 products. We have steadily increased, and today we stand at 4.6, which is much higher than our key competitors in all the market, and with generating a lot more voices. So this is the result, which is our long-term projection we take to maintain quality for our consumers and making them believe that we are there, hearing them, and the building new innovative product to make their houses into homes. But how do we do it? This is the result. Going into the next slide, looking at the tangible level, how we measure it. uh, Majorly we have three KPIs in house for us, which we call which are part of our value creation plan and monitored by our C level executives as well. To start with, RNR commerce KPI. As in the name commerce, the main aim here is to have more voices. Here we track what's how many number of rating and reviews we are showing to our shoppers to convert them into a consumer, making them believe our product are worth quality for them to buy it. Complementing it, the other one we have is Arena Brand Detractor, where we try to pinpoint those products which are struggling, where we have 1 or 2 star rating, to have a wrestle with the right business people to take a kill or cure action. Furthermore, we don't limit ourselves here. Many of our products are above par. We want to know what people are talking about, which quality parameter they are positive about, they are negative about, and we measure it in terms of arena quality sentiment score. We're not looking at the average rating or number of reviews. We try to quantify positive and negative sentiment to take our learning, try to compare with our competition to make sure we are driving the right innovation to make life easier for our consumers.
Great. And just to go back on the previous slide and add a bit of comment, I think this is clearly very nice results because increasing and also maintaining over the years this high rating while competitors are way below, and also while reviews volume is increasing so drastically, so still maintaining that score over the whole portfolio is very impressive. Congrats to Versuni to be so consumer obsessed, and clearly this is ultimately what VOC is for, not just data collection, nice insights, but delivering on your brand promises. When done right, clearly VOC becomes the bridge between what you say and what you do. And that's when trust is built, loyalty is earned, and ROI is ultimately delivered. Thank you so much for these examples, Ajay. So the idea is How do we move forward? In the next slide, we'll break to you how to take this to your organization in 4 steps. The idea is to have a clear, and first step is to set KPIs. So the idea is to have a combination of 2 types of KPIs. So strategic KPIs that will measure the ROI and business decisions, and operational KPI that will measure the input that drives those outcomes. This metric framework is critical. It's not vanity metrics, it's linked to business outcomes. It's key to have them both and to have them visible to leadership, because when executives care about VOC metrics, the whole organization pays attention. And this brings me to step number 2, that is to have the full support of your top management. So you need executive sponsorship. This is a non-negotiable. And why does it matter? Because VOC touches every part of the organization. It's not just a nice to have a project, otherwise it will never scale. And you need to management mandate to make it cross-functional. And you would ask me what executive sponsorship looks like. So it goes through VOC metrics in executive dashboards, budget allocation for tools and people, mandate to cross-function collaboration, consequences when insights are ignored. And what we usually see, essentially, in the common failure mode is that VOC is owned by one team, be it CX, analytics, whatever, that they have no executive visibility, that other team would say, nice, it's very interesting, but we are busy. This is not within our priorities. And at the end of the day, program never achieves the ROI because adoption is limited. You want to add up on this, Ajay, or we'll leave a few minutes for questions. So let me speed up on this part. And while we talk about executive support, it's also important to have the right people that will make this work. So first, the sponsor who owns the vision and ensure it's aligned with the strategic goals, the project owner who defines the scope, drives the progress, and steer the project day to day, the champions and the power users who are essential for advocacy to help embed the solution within the teams and encourage adoption, and most importantly, the end user, because we want to democratize access to insight. So every end user counts, and this team is responsible for execution, for interacting with the system. Their engagement is key and critical for the success. So getting the right mix ensure alignment, accountability, and momentum throughout the rollout. Step 4, last but not least, it's about the technology. At this stage, you have the right foundation, the right people, the right roles, the right process. It comes to technology, in this case, Wonderflow AI-powered platform. The idea is it helps to have fast, scalable insight, but doesn't replace human judgment. In this case, team still needs to validate the insight and context, make decision, ensuring AI output translates into real impact for the organization. The balance between Wonderflow technology and human expertise, it what's make this raw data into growth, drive innovation, and customer loyalty. So last slide to sum it up, and then we could take maybe a couple of questions. So the idea is to have a staged approach. First, don't over-engineer from day one. The idea is to start with the first project, a pilot, where you prove the result and wins the early champion. Once you show results, scaling becomes so much easier. And think of data as a cycle, not on a one-time project. So keep iterating through aggregation, analysis, activation, and action. About organization, I think Ajay is most fit to speak about the organizational readiness.
So to build upon your rightfully shared approach, the most important thing is at the end we have to develop the value. Even the smartest strategy fail without the right structure. So we need to have confidence of our leadership. We have to make sure we are delivering value, be the expert, and with ownership we have to propagate the value. Centralizing data is important to project the value, to start with the consistency, but real power is when it's shared widely, when teams don't have to rely on others for finding the answers and they can find them independently.
Great. And last but not least is the perfect combination between human and technology. So think of it as technology gives you the muscles, people give it meaning. So adoption happens when team sees the AI as a partner, not as a replacement. Automation for speed, keep a human for judgment in the loop, and for the context, for the trust. That's the right balance that will turn a platform into performance. So conclusion, playbook is simple: prove value, build right foundation, and blend AI efficiency with a human intelligence. That's how you go from feedback chaos to product innovation and turn consumer feedback into a ROI. And that's it for us. If you have any question.
Both so much. I do have a question here that I wanted to ask you both before we wrap up. And for Wonderflow, what type of AI do you use?
Okay, so I'll take this one. The idea is that we use AI in every phase of the flow. So when we collect data, when we analyze data, when we deliver to users, the idea is that we have a combination of proprietary AI that we fine-tuned over the year, but also fine-tuned based on Transformers technology to perform on overperform with this fine tuning and additional training on specific domains data with continuous enrichment, but also combination, because maybe you feel that we are not supportive of Gen AI, but we still use Gen AI. So it's combination of proprietary AI powered also with Gen AI inside a specific framework with routers, disambiguation, consistency check. So we take the best of it, use it for the relevant use case. And in this case, it's a combination of what's best available on the market plus our own expertise.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think this is a safe place to wrap up, but just as a reminder, if you have any other questions or you want to reach out, scan that QR code. And I also dropped our speakers' LinkedIn's in the chat as well, so you can connect with them there. This webinar will be available to watch back on demand, and an email will be sent to you with that link to watch the replay. So before we wrap up, I just want to give a big thank you to our speakers and to our audience for being here. And I hope everyone has a wonderful Thursday.
Thank you, Bridget. Thank you, Lamia.
So much. Thank
Thanks.
you, everyone.